Good morning, afternoon, hello. I'd like to welcome everybody to today's webinar, What Funders Want. My name is Max Smith. I'm the Communications Director for 501c Services. A little bit about us. We're a 100% employee-owned company that provides alternatives to state-run unemployment insurance programs. We provide services to more than 1,500 nonprofits nationally. Part of our work, we administer the 501c Agencies Trust, which offers a comprehensive suite of risk management services and multiple stop-loss protection solutions for 501c3 nonprofits. We also manage a U-Insure, which is a first dollar unemployment insurance program, not only for nonprofits, but government entities and tribally owned businesses as well. A number of you on today's program already work with us, and we appreciate you doing so. Now I'll get into a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to take questions throughout. Emily and Aaron are willing to allow you all to go ahead and ask questions as we go, and we'll politely interrupt them to get your questions answered, and then we'll also save some time at the end for any that we may not have gotten to. Today's materials are already in your GoToWebinar program. If you go down to the handout section, you can download the PDF of today's program. We'll also email it to you later today, as well as we'll send you a video copy of the presentation later today as well, so you can share that around if you'd like to. And before we get started, I'd like to remind everybody about next month's webinar, Dashboard Strategies for Nonprofits. We have Ian Scotland from AccuFund here. They provide accounting software to nonprofits, and he has a lot of cool dashboards that he wants to share that you all can use and utilize in your programming. Now, having done my part, I'll go ahead and hand it off to Emily and Aaron. Good morning, ladies. Is everybody ready to shine today?
We are. Good morning, everybody.
Absolutely.
All right, Emily, let me give this to you. All right, you should have it. Aha.
Okay, great. There we go. Oops. All right. Thanks, Mac, for having us. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. My name is Emily Cash, and I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at Social Solutions. And today's webinar, we're going to review the following. Why foundation funding, research that we conducted in 2017, what funders want, a funder spotlight, Arches out of St. Louis, and then some key takeaways and a little bit of information about Social Solutions. And like Max said, both Aaron, who is the Director of Enterprise Nonprofits, and I are totally willing to take questions throughout the webinar today. So let's get started. Really quickly, just here's a little bit about Social Solutions. We were founded nearly 20 years ago by caseworkers working in youth development out of Baltimore, Maryland. They saw a need for being able to better track their participants and how they could use software to help them. So in 2001, they launched ETO software, an acronym for Efforts to Outcomes. And since then, we've evolved significantly. We were purchased by Vista Equity Partners, an equity portfolio company known for owning successful software products like Marketo and Cvent. We then purchased a small Austin-based software company called CTK for their Apricot case management product. Apricot at the time was known for helping smaller nonprofits, get off the ground and start using case management software to better track their impact and their outcomes. And then most recently, we launched this year our Apricot 360 product, which was powered by our partnership with the Ballmer Group, run by former Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer and his wife, Connie. They're super passionate about education and making sure all children have the opportunity to access quality education. Our 360 product aims to provide the most holistic view of a participant yet, using predictive analytics and enterprise-level reporting to help nonprofits make decisions about their programs and participants in almost real time. So we've come a long way, and I know everyone here at Social Solutions is really excited for 2019. And then here's a look at our executive team. They have a combined total of nearly 100 years in commercial software leadership at companies like CNN, MicroEdge, Oracle, and then their own startups as well. So let's dive in. When we pose the question, what do funders want? You may wonder why you'd want to receive foundation funding in the first place. Well, the answer is that there's a lot of available funding from foundations, and they make up a significant percentage of nonprofit donors in the United States. And the graphic on the left is actually from 2012, so you can see that over time, as the pool of private giving funds grow, foundation giving remains consistent at about 16% of the available funding on the market. So currently, the data on the right is from 2017. There's just over 86,000 foundations in the U.S. They gave $66.9 billion in 2017, again, consistent with that 16% of all private giving donations. And then nearly 58,000 unique organizations receive grants from foundations each year. Additionally, foundations offer increased flexibility in terms of spending, including much needed operational support. You can see that program support makes up about 52% of the funding streams from foundations. 23% of funding goes to about general support. And then you have research, capital support, student aid funds, and other funding streams that foundations are able to support. You can pay for things like post-its, technology, infrastructure, things that are related to your organization's success, but may not necessarily be tied to a single employee or a single participant. So that's what a significant advantage of foundation funding is being able to have that flexibility in how you use your dollars. So in 2017, Social Solutions went ahead and did a foundation reporting study. We like to colloquially call it our What Funders Want study. And I'll be sending each one of you a link to this study after our webinar. But we surveyed hundreds of representatives from foundations and charitable trusts with the goal of the survey to gain insight into three key elements. The first one being current, past, and future demands for reporting. The second being preferences for information and formats and channels of displaying reports. And then finally, key areas where nonprofits report on to present to foundations. We'll first take a look at the most important considerations for funding. We asked these representatives from these foundations and charitable trusts, what are the top three things that you consider most important when evaluating nonprofits for potential funding? They were allowed to choose three items from a list of about a dozen or so factors, and you can see by far and away impact is the most important factor when funders are looking at grant applicants. 98% of the funders surveyed chose impact as one of their most important factors. There's other considerations, of course. You can see mission, legal nonprofit status, organization leaders, past history, financials, consumer reports, and then also timing, sustainability, etc. But really, by far and away, it's that impact and how can you prove your impact that leads to a foundation giving funds to a grantee. They want to make sure that when you measure impact, that they clearly want to know if they're going to be used efficiently and, of course, used to do good. So the best indicator when evaluating an organization's impact, knowing that 98% of funders identify impact as one of their top three considerations when funding an organization, it's highly valuable information, but understanding how your organization can demonstrate its impact is the next step. So for 67% of funders, outcomes are the best indicator of an organization's impact, followed by its consistency to mission. So in this data set right here, funders were asked just to choose one, the best indicator, and again, by far away, outcomes are the most important indicator in relaying your organization's impact. And outcomes, they can help your organizations in two different ways. So demonstrating outcomes for existing programs, can lead to program-specific supplemental funding. So if you're looking to gain additional funds for, your literacy program, demonstrating outcomes with that program can lead to supplemental funding. But also, demonstrating outcomes at a larger organizational level can help support new programs and provide operational funding by instilling confidence in your organization's abilities to spread your mission and help more people in your community. Now moving on to reporting. So, what are funders looking for in reporting? Funders are looking for similar things when it comes to reporting. Knowing that impact, mission, and legal nonprofit status are some of the things that are of most importance to funders, the next question is, how do you demonstrate these things to funders? Overwhelmingly, funders are seeking program outcomes and impact stories and effective impact reporting. So I find this interesting. So of course, in your reports, you're going to want to show your community, your funders, the outcomes of your programs. But also you can see that ahead of budgets, ahead of outputs, ahead of objectives and programs, these funders want to hear about people in your community who are affected by your programs. They want to hear the impact stories. They want to put faces to names. And, so it's interesting when looking at that set of examples right here that, right after outcomes, it's these impact stories that funders are looking to hear. And you can see that this continues in preferred reporting formats. 82% of funders want their results to be positioned within impact stories. They don't want just a laundry list of data points saying, we had this outcome, this outcome, this outcome, X% here, X% there, et cetera. The human factor is still very important, and it shows that when 82% of funders want these results to be presented within impact stories. Like I just said, they want to be able to see the faces and hear the stories of how their funding has helped others in their community. And it's a little counterintuitive when you think about the importance of data and how more and more organizations are being challenged to become data-driven, where you see that impact stories overwhelmingly overshadow paper reports, graphs, and spreadsheets. So it's changing in reporting requirements. This graph here, this diagram just shows that, reporting requirements, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. If you think funders are going to ease up on their reporting requirements, definitely think again. 57% of funders answered that reporting requirements have actually increased over the past 5 years. And that trend is just going to continue to increase over the next 5 years. So, you may be thinking, do I really need to be data-driven? And do I need to, when do I need to start collecting, data points about my organization? Funding requirements for data are just going to continue to grow. So the longer you wait, the more, the more work, you'll have to put into, catching up your organization. So we'll talk now about a real-world example. ARCHES out of St. Louis. ARCHES stands for Area Resources for Community and Human Services. They fund and strategically enhance initiatives that improve the lives of children and families facing disparities and disadvantages in the St. Louis, Missouri area. So you can see here their mission is to improve the lives of the greater St. Louis residents by convening strategic community partnerships. And their vision, which this will come into play later, is to be the premier builder of strategic community partnerships known for advancing the human potential of greater St. Louis. So they give about $9 million in funding annually to 34 grantees in St. Louis, serving about 150,000 people in the community. And they have a set of steps that they take in order to achieve their goals, which we're going to share with you today. So what Arches wants to see, the core question that they always ask are the people you serve better off? According to their CEO, Wendell E. Kimbrough, this is the primary question that every funder wants answered. If they give your organization funds, are you going to be able to use those funds to improve the lives of the people in your community? And Arches has a three-pronged approach to how they can ensure that the answers to this fundamental question is always yes. And that's with data, it's with progress, and it's also with partnerships. So let's talk about the data first. We've mentioned before it's important, and organizations really should think about becoming more data-driven. But data also needs to be collected with a means to an end. It needs to be collected with purpose, but this is easier said than done. So, first step that Arches recommends is that having a centralized system and a set of processes to manage external grantees' program data and their internal records. So having a centralized database where you can combine multiple programs in order to more efficiently measure across your programs the efficiency of funds being used, the efficiency of programs. Having that all in one spot is just going to give greater insight into how your programs are doing. And the way to be able to do this is to be confident with your data. You're not going to magically become a reporting wizard overnight, but starting to implement data at every step along the way in your organization, and having everyone in your organization start using data to make decisions and use data for research. Folks are going to become more and more comfortable and confident using data, and that's only going to improve the decision-making capabilities of your organization. So what this also does is it helps grantees become more informed and more confident in the data that Arches collects and analyze, and they can also better visualize their impact. And what they were able to do is using a centralized system. Now Arches can track 3,000 plus individual data points across their partner organizations. So they really have done an excellent job of implementing a data-driven culture across their organizations and their grantees, and being able to see at a very high level how those organizations are performing. What Arches also wants is progress. This goes back to the core mission statement. Are the people you serve better off? As I mentioned in the last slide, organizations need to actively work to become data-influenced organizations, managing data to not only effectively just meet requirements, doing that bare minimum, but also to accurately see the value you are adding to your communities. If you treat data management as a chore, that's what it's going to feel like, and that's how your staff is going to treat it. Oh, I have to pull this report again. What do you mean I have to, look at this report, that report? That report takes a long time to build. If you pitch data as less of a chore and more as a tool that you can use to help more people, you're only going to continue to evolve as an organization. You'll be able to identify areas in which a program could be better implemented, or a service that you thought was working for your participants isn't as efficient as you thought it was. So, you're able to take that information, glean insights, and then transform your organizations and your programs to better serve your communities. And that's really what they want. Arches wants the organizations that they're funding and they're helping to just continue to evolve, grow, and just continue to increase the number of folks that they're able to help. So that third component is partnerships. what they mean it when they say that their mission is to help grantees grow and be the best that they can through funding, support, and daily assistance. And I know I mentioned it in the first slide where talking about Arches, where their vision is to be the premier builder of strategic community partnerships. And they really do mean that when they say it. To Arches, they view a successful partnership as one that is consistent. They also have monthly on-site meetings, and then also monthly visit with community members. So they're just not checking in with their grantees once a year. Not checking in with their grantees once a year to write them a check or to receive their reports. They have a consistent monthly, if not weekly, relationship with all 34 partners in their community to make sure that they're receiving the resources that they need. They're able to, make the improvements in their organization as needed. And you can see here on the right, this is actually a screen grab from their website. It's a whole section on grantee resources. So here you have resources, forms, templates for use by any of the grantees from Arches. So you can see there's a resource guide, partner experience, there's a questionnaire, a glossary for their invoices. So you have all of this, they're providing all of this information to their grantees just right there in their website, because they truly care not just about cutting checks for organizations, but truly partnering with these organizations to make sure that the community is better served. But at the same time, a partnership is a two-way street. So in exchange, what can a nonprofit do to increase engagement with their funders? The CEO, Wendell, says, it starts with an open dialogue. Promoting partnerships through social media and marketing, for example. You can see here on this grantee resources that there are several logos for these organizations to use. So things like hosting events or writing blog posts on social media, just making sure that you highlight that partnership. That's something that nonprofits can easily do to increase their engagement with their funders. Continuing on that, highlighting successes while giving credit to the funders that help make this possible, and then encouraging an open collaborative culture. Inviting the funders to their various centers, participating in fundraisers, participating in maybe some events that the organizations are holding. Again, making sure that the relationship is much more than just transactional. Because when these funders are able to put faces to names and, they get to know the employees of the organization as well as the folks that they're helping, you're much more likely to build an organic, continuous funding stream from your funders, with that personal touch. So, some key takeaways. What do funders want from you? First, can't say it enough. It's outcomes, outcomes, outcomes. You need to show how funding has made a difference, not just in your organization, but for the folks that you help. It's being able to directly demonstrate how your funding dollars went into a program or went into operational funds to show, hey, we're able to buy more supplies for our staff, who were then able to go into the field and interact with our clients more. They really want to be able to see not just outputs, like number of meals served, but outcomes of members of the community and how their lives have been impacted for the better. And then being able to clearly explain your organization's impact. And again, not just in data points, not just, like I said, in meals served or, beds slept in, but in true stories of how a family was able to become self-sufficient and move out of low-income housing because they went through job training, went to a resume writing class, and then now we're able to support their family. Stories like that, overwhelmingly, remember, it was 82% of funders wanted to be able to see how outcomes, wanted to see their outcomes presented in the form of impact stories. And again, and finally, just encourage open collaboration for lasting relationships. The best relationships are ones, based out of just openness and trust, and that, that maintains true for the relationships between funders and nonprofit organizations. Keep them involved. Send them photos from a recent event, or make sure that they are signed up to receive your monthly newsletter. Keep them abreast of the work that you've been able to do because of their charitable contribution. Keeping them in the loop and keeping them involved is going to, much like the impact reporting I just talked about, it's also in the impact stories I just mentioned, you're also creating your impact story with your own organization when you encourage open collaboration with your funders. So, these takeaways are great and everything, but how can you effectively execute them? It's one thing to say, yes, I understand, this is what I need to do, but how can I actually go about efficiently and effectively executing these ideas? So this is where I got to pitch you a little bit, but these goals are achievable with case management software. There are numerous case management software platforms out there, and across the board, we do see that human service agencies who deploy case management software see significant time saved, gain greater insights, and are able to accelerate their impact. As much as a 30% reduction in data entry, time spent on data entry, 40% reduction in time spent on reporting, digitized local data collection. I mean, think of it. You have a centralized database now that you can run the reports you need to pull without having to work in multiple spreadsheets. Combine them all together in a single spreadsheet, do a VLOOKUP, and then do a pivot table, and take all that information and stick it onto a separate sheet, and then you're trying to create your pie charts and your graphs. And I used to have to do that at an organization I worked for, and this report literally took upwards of 6 hours to pull all of those reports into a single spreadsheet, and in order to gain insight into the clients I was working with. So when you have a centralized database, it significantly cuts down on that time spent doing data entry and time spent consolidating reports. Additionally, when you have all your information in a single system, you're able to gain better insight and make more informed and effective decisions. Because you have all that data in one spot. It's not like you're pulling certain reports from one database and not having a complete picture because you're lacking data that's stored in another database. And you can see here, 35%. There's 35% reduction in time saved tracking service delivery. So you can see in these columns, you can see a lot of time saved, the insights gained, and again, accelerated impact. Like I said before, when you have those data points, you've got improved access to funding, and you're able to spend more time out in the field interacting with clients versus spending all this time doing manual data entry. And with social solutions, we have two main platforms: our Apricot. There we go. PowerPoint went rogue on me. So, with social solutions, we have several platforms that help nonprofits and also government organizations better track outcomes and increase their opportunities for funding. So, with our platforms, you get your accurate data right at your fingertips. So reporting is easier and more meaningful. We have, depending on your nonprofit vertical or your organization vertical, we do have different reports that we that come loaded in with your account to give you a jump start on some of the things that you might want to or need to be tracking. We have flexible, easy to use, and we're ready to scale with your organization. I know with our Apricot products especially, we start with Apricot Essentials, which is just our out-of-the-box platform. And then we have Apricot Core, which is a little more advanced and robust. And then with our new 360 platform, which I had mentioned, that's when you're getting the enterprise level reporting, SAP quality, enterprise reporting, and also access to predictive analytics to make decisions about your programs, about your participants down to the individual level in real time. And then, of course, better insight into impact to open doors to additional funding opportunities. We recently did a study where folks using our case management platforms saw about a 3% increase in their funding year over year because of the efficiency of the reporting, the robustness of the reporting, and also less time spent doing data management and more time in the field actually connecting with participants. So our platform is, you can see down the bottom, there's some call out some of our features, how we're cloud-based. We're a cloud-based centralized data collection service. We've got powerful universal search capabilities. We've got easy to use real-time reporting, flexible and dynamic form building tools. So if you don't see the form that you're looking for, we're able to, you're able to build it. We empower you to be able to construct the forms that you need specifically for your organization. We have tools like workflow, approvals and alerts, configurable dashboards, and of course, compliant best practice configurations. We also recently were NIST and High Trust Security certified. So when you put your data into our system, that it is safe and secure. So we can deliver these case management advantages and more. And the way that we're able to do that is that, we're aligned with key market trends. We spend a lot of time analyzing the market, analyzing the funding landscape. And, we realize that there's increasing competition for funding, that there's, a need for predictive analytics and increasing demand for, benchmarking. There's also, IT professionals are really expensive. So many organizations lack internal IT expertise. Migrating, moving from off-the-shelf, from paper to off-the-shelf cloud solutions. I mean, that's challenging. There's higher expectations for proving impact and ROI. Improving predictability and service delivery, knowing ahead of time what the results of your particular program are going to deliver, that's increasingly valuable. We know that in nonprofit organizations, there's often high employee turnover. So onboarding new employees quickly and efficiently is imperative. And then, the increasing need for program data compatibility, being able to use the data that you're collecting for your programs, across your organization. We see those challenges that nonprofit organizations face, and we, through our suite of services and through our platforms, we're able to address these, and we have the tools that you need to be successful in this landscape. Just to throw a couple stats at you, we recently did a study. This was from 2016, I believe, and 1,440 reporting hours were saved each year in a 25-person organization. I mean, just from the clients that I've spoken to, they've saved 2 to 3 hours a day, upwards of 10 and 12 hours a week, just with our with our reporting capabilities. I mean, like I mentioned in my own organization, compiling multiple spreadsheets together doing my fee lookups and my pivot tables and spending upwards of 6 hours, 6 hours a month on just this one report to get insight. So, our development team has really taken the time to make sure that our reporting tools are easy to use and really saving you time and getting you out in the field, engaging with your clients. And then we have about 3,200 organizations using our product, 120,000 active users, 6,000 new participants are added daily into our system, and over 330,000 services are logged daily. So whether that be, looking at an entry into a new program, or an alert on a client saying, hey, they need to be contacted by a service provider. We've got these hundreds of thousands of touch points that are logged into our platform daily. And then, of course, this results in nearly 24 million lives that are touched by social solutions in some way. We like to brag about our clients a little bit. We've partnered with the United Way, Friends of the Children, Kansas City Link, the state of California, First Place for Youth, YWCA, YMCA, Goodwill. We really have, you can see here that there's many of our clients are, yes, large organizations, but some are pretty small, and you can see that they're either state-based or, they're also government organizations like the Employment Security Department. So we really have a selection of clients that span size, they span nonprofit vertical. So, we definitely have a diverse selection of solutions, regardless of what size or what type of organization you have. And so that is it. If be happy to take some questions, but like I said, we'll be sending out the What Funders Want survey to y'all after this webinar. And here's my email contact as well as Erin's. And if you think of a question after today's webinar, I'm more than happy to help answer them.
And I've been monitoring that. I have not seen any questions come through. If anybody has any here at the end that we want to shoot over, happy to relate them. I don't think we're going to get any. You have Emily and Erin's information, and they will also follow up by email afterwards so that you have that as well. So if anybody has just nothing new, then we'll go ahead and end it there. Thank you, ladies, for joining us, and we'll be in touch with everybody.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for having us.
No problem. Appreciate your time.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.